They also say that a big part of well-being is associated with self-efficacy. And self-efficacy is seen as being able to control the situations and to control your life and not allow the life controlling you. Albert Bandura, another psychologist, in his work Self-Efficacy in 2010, he defined self-efficacy as belief in your ability to succeed in specific situations or accomplishments or of a task. Do you approach self-efficacy in your trainings, and in general, how widely is it applied in positive psychology?
It is applied definitely in working with companies. We maybe not mention it, like a definition or self-efficacy, things like that. But first of all, we have to understand that this is about the beliefs, I don't remember who said, but if you believe you can do it or if you believe you cannot do it, you are still right. So the belief we can have an impact on our environment is very important. But you see, if we think what's happening in some companies, and I worked with people, generally they come to work, motivated. They have maybe an interview, they look what they're supposed to do, maybe there is a big competition for that position. Maybe they are even told, we really need you, we need to change things around, the predecessors were not capable of doing, or but we think you are really able to help us with this. And then they got hired, and in a couple of weeks, okay, you get accommodated how things are done. And the person makes a plan, like we can start from here, do these changes and so on. And there is where will be made the difference, Is his boss going to say, yes, let's do this, or let's try this, and we'll build a trust relationship with this person? Or we'll start thinking, who is this young person telling me what I should do? Or maybe we'll be afraid that he will be replaced, and then we'll start together with the rest of the team maybe to stop this. So there is where the person can insist for a while and still be motivated to do his job as he thinks, or let go and comply with whatever he found there. So many companies, they say, yes, we want creative people, we want motivated people, we want to keep our employees motivated. But at the end is like, how do you react when they come with proposals? Many, I think even you or many people I know and from my clients, they were like, yes, we want to do things, we really love our company, our job, the colleagues, and so on. So there is a certain level of well-being, but we cannot change anything. Either we accept it or not.
Interesting. You know that my main topic is etiquette, and I see it really wide. Like, etiquette is not about only rules of behavior or good manners, it's also about rules of communication. And it's the definition in the dictionary says that it's not only your own behavior, like positive behavior, but making other people feel comfortable by the way you behave. And while reading the definition of happiness and meaningful life given by Seligman, I found a lot of things in common with my approach in teaching etiquette and the approach of Seligman to happiness. Part of it is social self-efficacy, which is an individual's confidence in her or his ability to engage in social interactions, which is my etiquette. Do you think that rules of communication or etiquette and rules of behavior, good manners, would be of interest in the modern world?
Yes, I think that will always be important, because we need a set of rules to be able to function. And we can also go beyond these simple rules and think of this win-win situation, you know.
Yes, and I can see it as another level of self-efficacy, because you knowing how, knowing the rules, knowing how to do, how to behave in a certain situation, you take the situation under control, and it helps, and it makes you like more confident.
Obviously, rules and etiquette help us to communicate and to work with our community and to have an impact or the right impact we want to have. But like every good thing, you know, it can have the extreme. So as long as we don't use it for manipulating people, you know, then it's helpful. So it's just think of this win-win situation, you know, like how we can be good and do good together, and then it helps, of course. And it should still be valid today, tomorrow, when we will have robots. I mean, they will have to have an etiquette as well.
Well, thank you. It's important for me, your comment. Let's go back to stress and depression you mentioned. Because, yes, positive psychology deals mainly with positive emotions. However, nowadays we are living in the world where everything is so uncertain, and there is a lot of stress. And in the report of the World Health Organization before the pandemic, they stated that by 2020, people will die more of suicide caused by depression than of cancer, which is quite threatening for me. We are living in the situation when we cannot control it. And we don't have many choices now. Nowadays, with this pandemic, the situation becomes even more threatening when people cannot communicate. There are no social contacts. So we live mainly online. Can you comment on it, please?
We always have a choice. We can choose how we approach every situation, and that's a thing, you know. Before, I think Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist, was mentioning this in his book about meaning.
And how important is this choice and the sense of?
It is important, and to understand that we can choose the attitude nowadays, because indeed we feel. We may feel that we don't have control over our lives, but they are the small things we can still control. And this is what, in fact, positive psychology brought into the attention. So we have a bias towards negative emotions, and these, the main negative emotions like fear and anger and sadness, they were helping us to evolve and to survive as a species, and it still has its role. Each one of them have their role, and we knew a lot about them. Positive psychology, through their research, brought us the knowledge what are for the positive emotions and how we can bring them and why we should bring them in our lives. Not, you know, just because we have to do that, but because they will equilibrate us, and this is how we will obtain well-being. So even though, you know, several countries, they are still in a sort of lockdown. Here in Luxembourg, we are happy we can still move around, and we are pretty free comparatively. Even if we are at home, you know, like an elderly person, we are in a risk group. We cannot, maybe we have the feeling that we cannot see our relatives because they will infect us and things like that. We still can choose how, you know, the good things that happen to us every day. You know, the fact that indeed we can still see our relatives through technology. And this improved very, very much. You know, even in the nurses' housing, they were doing, you know, simple devices that the elderly could connect with their relative. Of course, it's not the same like being in person. I was reading the other day in The Economist, you know, there were two testimonials One about an elderly person saying that is really unhappy with the situation, that we want to see persons and touch them, and is missing this feeling. And the other one saying, love and showing love to others is not through touching and hugging and being present, but really with our good thoughts about them, with the good advice that you can still give over the phone, or discuss or listen, really listen to people. So we have this choice, how we look at this situation. Of course, is a terrible situation, but we have the choice in, are we going stronger out of this? Are we going to build resilience? Or are we going to be depressed? Obviously, people that they had this problem before, it's difficult to improve in the situation. I mean, it's nobody to blame. Bad things happen to us, to everyone. Nobody is protected. And for those, I think what happens today is that for those who are not very well before the pandemic and before the lockdowns, they are just getting worse. Those who are already, building some resilience and understanding this mechanism, how I can train my mind to switch from everything is going wrong, towards I still have these choices, and I still can have impact on this, and maybe in a different way than I was doing it before, then those will get, survive and be better, stronger.
And still there are people who have feeling of anxiety, feeling of stress. Do you think that this feeling could be overcome by themselves, like applying meditation, investing more in the personal self-development, or having a walk in the park, or doing sports, or a person would still need some professional advice, like an advice of a psychologist, of a therapist? And if yes, then what are the criteria to find the right psychologist or a therapist?
Right. We all have low moods, periods where we feel maybe a bit depressed, where we feel anxiety, where we are not very well, but usually we come out of that. So there is no person on earth that will be happy from the morning till the evening, all the time, for months and longer periods. So we all have these moods, and that's normal. But we all also experience stress to certain levels, and we need to have some habits. It's like taking a shower, every day, to manage this stress, to release, in fact, this stress, because the stress has some effects. We were talking earlier about hormones on our body. So with other habits, like simply having a walk in the forest, we can release this stress. So if you want, we come back to our baseline. As long as, some people, they have this naturally, or they learn it in their family. Some people, they don't, or they don't realize, they have some goals or some very hard periods in their lives, and the stress, it piles up, and that can become a problem on the long term. So longer we pile up problems, more we increase the probability that we will develop some sort of mental illness. And then will take even longer to, I don't know if to recover, many people recover, but at least to learn how to handle it and to live with that. And this is what people sometimes ignore, that they, we take care of our body. Most of the people say, okay, we eat healthy, we keep an eye on our diet and weight, we do some physical activity, we check up with the doctor, but we kind of forget what can we do for keeping our mind fit and our mental well-being fit. And they ignore the fact that if we don't take care about that part, it takes longer to recover than for the physical part. And they are all related. It can be that we are taking care of our body, but because we don't take care of our mind, it will have an impact on our body. And then we wonder, but you know, I eat well, I do my sports, but still I'm not feeling fine, and why is that? Or I feel tired, or I cannot sleep, and so on. So it's the effect on the mind.
At this point, do we need some external help, like from a therapist or a psychologist?
Some people will need to do that. Some people will be fortunate enough to have people around them that will help them. And or maybe they will just read a book and change something in their behavior. They will understand something at the right moment, so then they don't. And some people, they will simply need at a certain moment the intervention of a professional. And here the trouble starts. Which kind of professional? From my point of view, the coaches, whatever they say and what type of courses they have interventions at the mental level, at the psychological level. So many people, they try to say, okay, what I do is not psychology, but as long as we work on with elements of cognitive elements or from psychology, practically we intervene at this level. So we do that, and it can help, you know, for certain persons to come out of a situation or to be better, improve their well-being, improve their performance, communication, health, whatever. Some people will need a psychotherapist. And the regulation already in Europe, where we have European Union and some things are harmonized in terms of legislation and so on, for psychologists and psychotherapists is not harmonized. So it depends from country to country. So if I would, you know, give an advice to someone, you know, to take or to be or not to be, to take or not to take advice from a professional, and which one, is to see as many as possible. It was proven by research that the most important element in helping someone is the relationship you have with the professional and the capacity of that professional to create this secure relationship with its client or patient. And that is the key. It's not particularly the method, is not, you know, if he's a coach or trained in certain things, but it's this relationship that it creates. So you have to see many people and try a little bit and see how it is. Then, of course, you can look at their studies, at their background. In coaching, for example, you can be a certified coach. That means you learned a certain method, but the proof of practice and competencies, the development of competencies, is given by what we call accreditation or credentials. That is an entire process done through the coaching associations. So that we need to provide a file where we have the number of hours, there are certain levels, we have to prove our competencies. Each association has its own rules, how these competencies are proven. Some, they are live coaching, so they have to record something. Others is through study cases and explaining what and how you have done. And some, they really have some sort of exams and so on. For psychologists, as we were talking today, it's a very broad domain. So we have clinical psychologists that usually they would also have psychotherapy training, but you can have a work psychologist, you can have a psychologist that is just doing research, you can have a coaching psychologist. You know, so everyone, you will have to see, you know, where your, I want to say problem, but sometimes it's not a problem, it's just that you want to change something and improve something. And then try to find the right professional. It's not an easy job, I must admit. Even for me, it was taking a while to find a supervisor, you know, because we need also to be supervised. is how I deal with myself. Maybe I have some problems and I need to overcome them, how I look at my practice. And even there, it takes a lot of time, you know. Sometimes I'm taking a supervisor for a certain problem and another for another thing, you know. So it's possible that you will have to work with different professionals.
Wow, thank you. It's a great insight. Now you know how to at least approach this issue. And if you feel that you need some outside help, please take the advice of Dana. Everything what she has just said is really very, very useful. Thank you, Dana. Dana, the 21st century now is considered to be the century of digital dementia. During this pandemic time, we are forced to live in the virtual media. However, people, they prefer sometimes to live in the internet, to live online than to have real contacts. And Eric Sigman, a British psychologist, he writes a lot of articles on this topic, like screen dependency disorders and so on. And in 2015, he made some statistical research, and he said that children who were 7 years old by that year spent 1 year of their life with screens in their hands. And children of 18-year-old, they spend like 4 years of their lives. And an average British adult spends about 11 hours a day with screens. In the USA, 40% of children spend their life like whole day online. And in the age of under 10, and in the age from 14 to 18, 68% of children spend whole day online, being always online, like they are being brought and behaved by the screen. At the same time, our brain is not made to work like that. It's like not normal. We get information, but scrolling, but we cannot digest it, and we don't turn it into knowledge. And this primitive content which we're scrolling, it gives nothing to our personal development. And sometimes, yes, it's illusionary satisfaction, like, oh yes, somebody put a thumb and it means that yes, my need in appreciation is satisfied. However, it's not true. So do you see it as a problem? And what advice could you give to parents?
Well, I'm not a parent myself, and I'm not a specialist in developmental psychology, those who are dealing with children and development and how what would enhance or make better this development. There is a part in positive psychology dealing with positive education and things that will help children to develop in a positive manner, but it's not really my domain. Now, with the pandemic, even my work practically transformed, and I am at least 8 hours in front of the screen because I see my clients online. In fact, when the first lockdown happened, I switched, from seeing people in person, either in their companies or in my office, to seeing them only online, and definitely was not something I would have or I enjoy. After a couple of weeks, I really felt like my eyes were getting tired. I was feeling generally tired and so on. So that's why I switched now to do outdoors coaching. Technology and sitting in front of the screen, from my point of view, is like everything else. As long as you do it with a certain measure and you have some goals, you just don't lose your time. in front of the screen just because you cannot find anything else to do. And you spend that time in learning or looking for information that is interesting for you, or you want to find things, then it's a good thing. If not, it's damaging, of course. But I don't know. I know there are studies now that the neurological, so really here we talk about our cells and so on, will be affected. Definitely our brain generally is not made for the modern life. So the evolution of our brain remained a bit behind with the, let's say, cultural and technology advancements. So from where the stress, the depression, the anxiety, and so on. What I've seen with the clients I work and with my friends, as long as you as a parent don't, you spend the quality time with your child, and you go outside and you show him, that there are exciting things happening outside, and you can explore. Every child has this, and every human has this need of exploration, and that can be done outside and in other activities than sitting in front of a screen. Then the child will follow, generally. If his exploration and interaction with the world mainly happens online or with the screen, because the parent maybe didn't have enough time, and this is how he learned to interact with the world, then it will be a bit more difficult.
Yeah, and I know that recently you have developed and have already been implementing a new program which is called BioBallad, and it involves a walk in a forest.
Right.
What's the general idea behind your program, and how would your clients who would join you for this walk, how would they benefit?
So I'm a city girl, I've been born and raised in Bucharest, but luckily in the neighborhood I grew up was one of the greenest of Bucharest, and we had a lake, and as children we were going there, in summer to go by bike around the lake, or even to swim, and in winter to skate and so on. My grandparents were still living in the countryside, so I had contact with nature. It came quite natural to me. I never been afraid of nature or being in nature. When the lock, but it was such a part of me that I didn't, sometimes you don't really realize. When the pandemic came and the lockdown, I was lucky enough to live near a forest here in Luxembourg, near the Bambeș forest. So I started to make long walks, and noticed that I was feeling better, and that all the worries, because of course I was worried as well, what's happening, I cannot travel, I cannot do my work as I was used to, and so on. I was searching for answers and so on. But that the simple walk in the forest in a more mindful way was helping. And I started digging about this subject. So I discovered that there is a method in Japan that have been developed. Is called forest bathing, Shirin Yoku. I don't know if I pronounce it well. And the Japanese, they implemented this kind of forest bathing, forest walking, in their national health plan in '86 or something like that. So a very long time ago. And they have places where people, they can go, they can even be seen by a doctor, and the doctor will tell them take this path or do these exercises or so on. So it's very organized, and it's for the well-being. And then there is an entire area of psychology, eco-psychology is called, doing research on the effects of the blue and green environments on our mental health. And from there I started to do coaching outdoors, and then also trying it out with groups. The research says that going in nature and being mindful, so using the senses while we are there, so we are emerging in this nature. It can be a park, it doesn't have to be like the Wild West. is having effects on our physical health, like improving the immune system, lowering the blood pressure, but also on our mental health, like lowering stress, exactly what we were talking, do you need a professional?
Yeah.
No, you can still, have the habit of going in nature every day, for half an hour. Is also improving attention span and memory, things that they are damaged by our screen time. So this is the effect on children we were talking earlier on the screen time, is the attention span. It starts to be very low, and I feel it with myself as well, and many adults, they feel it. So just walk in the forest in a certain way with certain exercises is helping with that as well, and many other things. There is also a theory of biophilia, that we are born in nature, we are part of nature. So as humans, we need to connect. It's like you would charge your phone, So you have to have this connection with nature from time to time to charge your batteries. Otherwise, we go blank, no recording, nothing.
Absolutely true. Wow. I think you'll have a lot of clients and people interested in this program, because nowadays it's so important. This world today, it offers so many good things to us. We don't have to fight for living. Most all of us don't have to fight for living as we used to be fighting like thousands of years ago. Our needs mainly are satisfied, but does it make us happier? Like I remember when I was a child, a simple toy or a box of candies would make me happy. It would make my dopamine raise, and And now, what makes people happier? In your article on Proactive platform, you sincerely shared your ideas of your life code. With your readers, and you said that challenges make life more exciting, and do not forget to welcome them in your life and be grateful for them. So not only happiness and complete satisfaction of all the needs, but challenges. That's one of your advice. But if you blend everything together and think of happy life, meaningful life, what recipe would you give to our viewers? How to be happy?
I think each one of us have its own definition. The first step is to be aware, that we have this choice of making positive decisions, or really looking for the positive choices, so for things that make us grow, make us better persons, find meaning, purpose in life, have an impact on our communities, and so on. So talking about challenges, one positive psychologist, Csikszentmihalyi, he had this work on creativity and flow. And we find flow, that I find with you, Angela, today, discussing about these topics, like we didn't see how the time was passing. So we have the skills of communication, but we added a layer of challenge with the technology, trying to record and also trying to speak in a foreign language for both of us. And that helps us in being in this flow and feeling well together, learning something in the same time. So, but maybe it's a formula that works for us in this setting. Each person can find its own flow, its own activities where he can use his strengths and skills and still add a bit of stretching, so a bit of challenge, and that will make him better in what he is doing. But at the end, so during this flow, we don't feel emotions. But once we are coming out of this, we feel this satisfaction, like, wow, this is what I accomplished.
I think it's what you have just said will keep me thinking a lot, because it's really very, very important. I could continue talking with you for so long. However, our time is unfortunately up, and we have to wrap up our conversation for today. We'll probably have another session if you find time. And I want to say that I'm really grateful today, Dana, for sharing your views, your ideas, and for being here with me, and being the guest at my Etiquette and Service Cafe. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, and it was a pleasure for me to talk about this, and also to make up my mind about these subjects that I do every day with my clients. But I took the time to reflect on it.
My dear friends, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being with us today. And I hope you have got a lot of great insights from my guest, Dana. Happiness is a choice. To be perfect sometimes is not accomplishing. However, it is much better to look beyond imperfections and to be happy. If you expect others to make you happy, then you will be disappointed. Just to try to see good things in everything, in every moment of your life. Just be. That's the advice of Dana. Visit our cafe, follow my great guests, and you will be on the right track. Subscribe to Lux Etiquette and Service channel on YouTube. Thank you once again for tuning in, and hope to see you again.